Okay, so what about this? If you had to send someone back in time to
Terminator?
Yeah, or someone back in time to fuck your mom,
I don't like this question. You know,
who would you send?
I don't like this question.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Okay.
All right. All right. So
Nervous.
you made me nervous.
Hell, you talking about fucking my mom, you fucking coward.
Okay, what about this? If stand-up comedians, were to fight against the machines, who would be the leader?
That's a good question.
Don't believe you this time.
Bert Kreischer.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, why?
Well, I mean, his nickname is the Machine. I just figured
Right?
that's the pun, right?
Okay. Who would you be in that group?
Rick.
Right. In terms of like your hierarchy in the group.
Did you say hi, Ricky?
Hierarchy.
Hi,
Yeah.
Ricky. I would be, probably the sixth lead.
You really okay.
We'll put up a thumb.
Yes, definitely. All your promotion. You're good at this too. So when did you learn that you were funny enough that you were gonna just put your eggs in that basket and become a stand-up comedian? Because that's a risky move.
I didn't move here for stand-up. I moved here because I wanted to be an actor.
Okay.
But I was doing stand-up because I loved it, because I liked it. And it was easier to get on stage than in front of a camera. So I didn't feel like I was putting everything into stand-up comedy. That was just something I was doing because I liked it. I was making friends. Basketball and stand-up are a very similar thing to me as far as a driving force, because it was a community that I was allowed to be a part of. And actually, basketball helped me a lot in the comedy community, because when I first moved here, I was playing basketball with comedians, some of which who I knew of from television, who didn't know who I was. And I ended up becoming peers with them because we would be playing basketball together. So stand-up was and is a community that I felt a part of. So I wanted to keep doing it. And it wasn't because this is the dream and I'm going to make it. It became a dream because this is great. Imagine getting paid. But I never felt like this is what it is, because I was always, when I first came here, my job was doing background work in film and television and paid audience work for TV shows and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was around it and I was making a little bit of money and I had friends and I was doing comedy, and it just felt like this is the best and I'm paying my bills. So I didn't think about you want to become more successful. It really was just truly the idea of enjoying the journey without even thinking about that consciously. I was just loving doing it. And then fortunately I started getting work and it's like, holy shit, this is a real thing. But I didn't feel like it was a huge gamble. The big thing that felt like a big choice was choosing to move to Los Angeles. But that wasn't based on, am I going to make it in showbiz? I mean, just if you move somewhere. If you pay your bills here, you could pay, or here, what's the difference? When did I think I was funny? I always thought I was funny. When I first started doing stand-up, and from first starting to first 8+ years, I always felt like sometimes I'm really funny on stage, but I didn't feel ready. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. I wasn't. But I felt like I will be, because I always felt like I'm really funny. I haven't figured out how to control it, and how to have people who don't yet know me digest it. I'm still that way a lot with my comedy. I think even my podcast, I get so many comments and messages where I think people think they're being nice, and they are saying a nice thing, but it's basically, I hated Rick at first and now I love him, or it's one of my favorite pods, or whatever. And I've commented back on some, genuinely asking, please, I have no ego with this. Please tell me why? What does that mean? People don't know what I'm doing or like what I'm doing, whatever it may be, but there has been this obstacle that I have gotten better at, but has always existed, even though it doesn't exist as much now, which is when somebody does a joke and it doesn't work, usually the audience just thinks, oh, that wasn't funny. But for whatever reason, some of the choices and the things that I do when they don't work, it's not only is it not funny, it's like, fuck that guy, whatever. So when I miss, and I missed a lot, it's they don't like me, as opposed to Family Guy, when they miss, it doesn't matter. The next one's up. Mm-hmm. So I always felt like I'm funny, but I don't know how to do this yet. And there, even though now I feel like I'm very good, I really think I'm a very good stand-up comedian, and I think that I'm great. I'm great at the thing that I do. I don't know if the thing that I do has a huge space, and if that's what is the most valuable, but I like the thing that I do, and I think I'm the best at it. But there is this thing in me that's like, I don't know if I figured it out yet. And I think that's something that might always be the case. It makes you want to not be satisfied and keep trying stuff. But I've said on my podcast before, I think being funny is very easy. But stand up, like, and more specifically, like the business of comedy is really hard.
Yeah. The craft of it. But you're talking about something that reminds me of the first time when you came to Bad Friends for the first time. I don't know if you remember.
It's the only time I've done it.
Yeah, right. So there is a rhythm to the show, and you came in, and I guess instead of like fitting in with that rhythm, you decided to, okay, wait a second, we're gonna do my thing.
Sure.
So I feel, is that what you're talking about? Like disrupting whatever it is that, you know, the flow, and now everybody's gonna go around what I do it.
I am coming in, I'm a guest. So one could argue then be the guest and let them take control. The other is I'm the guest, make me comfortable. Right. So like the whole time I was trying to find it, and I've had Bobby on 3 times and Andrew on twice, and they're some of both because of the audience they bring in, but also because the podcasts themselves, some of the most viewed on my channel. I fucking love them. I love playing with them so much.
Right.
The combination with them and Santino not being there, it made it really tough. So the option I had was, and I was aware of this, was accept that this isn't working, or just fucking swing, man, and just try to find some stuff. And leaning in, and then Bobby's going to bully me, and Santino's going to take one of our sides, and I know that dynamic, and I'm very comfortable in it. And it was a weird, because we never got in a pocket. There were moments that it worked, but there was never a pocket. And much like anybody, especially us, we thrive in the pocket. And with that much chaos, if you're not in it, it's just fucking chaos.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You're capturing a moment in time, and not everything connected. I am surprised at the polarization of that episode, because it was a fucking clusterfuck. And the fact that I know a lot of people still loved it, and I think they're wrong, you know. But
I had the same thing that you just described, as like, I hated it while we were doing it, because in my head I had a plan for the show, right? And then you came in and you're just like, oh, that the plan is gone. Mm-hmm. But after a while, after getting into the new plan, now it's like, oh, it's a very odd episode that works really well, although it's not how we do it.
I do agree that there were beats that worked very well and very funny.
Right.
Question for you: the plan that you had that we weren't doing, did you experience a moment where the plan, things organically weren't going to plan, or did you feel like there was a wrench thrown in? Does that question make sense?
Yes. Yeah. I think the wrench. I think like you came in and you start getting the gong and stopping and stopping every, and I mean, we're not a guest-driven show, and we don't have that many guests. But when we have some guests, we're like, they just, you know, they decide to do an improv, and the guest goes against it. It's clearly that it's gonna derail the show, and sometimes that makes me laugh a lot. But I was thinking like, oh, that you described basically what I felt with you, like, oh, this is weird, like different from what I'm expecting, and then, oh, I really like this guy, and I really like how he does things. And that got me into your podcast and how you know what I'm saying? Like discover who you were and how you did comedy different than they do. Obviously, everybody does it different. But this show was
I don't show my penis all the time.
Right, you don't. But also like these shows these shows we were against, I guess they're all the same, like 2 comedians just riffing. Like you decided to do something a little different. And
there's another variable in there, which is Bobby Lee, and more specifically me with Bobby.
Right.
But the point I was making is there's a lot of people, and thank you for having me on it, because a lot of people found me from there that either said they loved it was their favorite episode, or they hated it was their least favorite episode.
Yeah.
And that's why they came over. Like, who is this fucking guy?
Right.
And then they started really liking it. And yeah, it's this thing. And I think that the reason people don't like me at first and then do, I'm sure some people liked me at first, is there are so many different versions of the way we could do things. And if you watch any podcast of mine, it's probably going to be very different from the one before and the one after. So if you see one that you like, great. If you see one that you don't, you're just really not going to like me.
Right.
And I think if people, for whatever reason, give me a chance, and this is going to sound corny, but I mean this in socially in general, like to have a sample of somebody here you don't know enough. Generally, it's like, oh, he's like playing. And a lot of times I'm playing, and I have this thing where everyone knows I'm playing, but they don't.
Right.
They don't know I'm playing. And that's fucking crazy to me. I'm in there in a 3-piece tweed suit with a gong. I'm fucking joking, man. I've known these guys for a decade. I'm joking.
Right.
But you know what they say, so I don't want to bore you with it.
No. I think you have, that's what I'm saying, that you have that energy. Like, and I understand the people that if they had a expectation that was more, oh, comedy is like ABC, and then you just reorder those letters, then it's like it takes a bit to get into it. Okay. I
want to add one more thing to the right choice with it, where it's the wrong choice, where it's subjective like that. I could make a choice, and based on the way Bobby Lee responds, my choice was hysterical or was the wrong choice.
Right.
It's all. I mean, I talk about this with anyone who edits with me, how important reaction shots are, and how much we need to show the person responding, either to highlight how much something didn't work or to show that it's okay, and anywhere in between. But it's not even the choice; it's the chemistry. So, like, it's really hard to develop the instincts when the choices are dictated from an external force. It's not stand-up. It's other people. If I say something that makes you uncomfortable and it ruined the show, that was a mistake. If I say something that challenged you in a way that let you either come back to me or brought it into something interesting and funny, what a great fucking choice. So I live from a place of I love my choice. I'm confident in my choices.
Yeah.
And I know operational cost is a miss.
And you need to try. If not,
I'm going to do it.
Right.
And I just hope that the person opposite me is comfortable enough to do their thing instead of thinking I'm messing their thing
Right.
up.
Right.